Okay, hello. This is KM. So I've never done this before, but I'm going to try it. I'm going to do a reading vlog for today's video. Currently right now I am studying 13, the musical, and apparently there is also a book on this musical called 13, a Novel. From the creators of the groundbreaking musical 13 by Jason Robert Brown and Dane Elish, sorry. And at first when I heard about this book, I wasn't going to read it because I thought it was just a copy and paste from the musical, you know? But I read that apparently it's not. There's a lot more details and a lot more material in this book compared to the musical. Okay, so first of all, I've seen the musical and I really liked it. The music was catchy and the story plot was good. When I first saw this book, I was a little hesitant to get it, because I don't like books based off of screenplays. But I gotta say, this was very, very good. There was material that was never even touched in the play, and it really showed that growing up is tough, and not everything turns out the way you want it to. But I read this in 3 days and I absolutely loved it. I would recommend all parents to buy this book for their 12 or 13-year-old son. It was good. This novel is based on the musical itself, so it is very interesting to read and know what was going on through the main character's head. The novel itself was very well written, with the consistency between each character's portrayal, characterization, and emotions fitting in with each other, and the plot still remains clear throughout the book. Even with different drama settling in as the chapters go on, it is still very entertaining, humorous, and also relatable. The divorce, friendship, popularity, etc. This book is absolutely perfect for those reading it casually, or for getting more information on the musical before heading to see the actual play. I'd highly recommend it to anyone interested in 13, the musical. Which makes sense because the books have more of an option to be more detailed compared to a musical. You can write a lot more, show a lot more in a book, because you have all the time in the world to put whatever you want in a book compared to a musical, because a musical has a time limit. A book does not. So that would make sense. I just got done reacting to 13 the musical, the Broadway stage version. During the making of that musical, Jason Robert Brown decided he wanted to write a book as well. I'm not sure why, I guess I'll have to go check that out, but it's a children's novel. It's about 200 pages long, so it won't take that long to read at all. I want to get this book read, done with, because then I want to react to 13, the movie musical version. So I thought I could read this book in the next 2 to 3 days, and I thought I could take you guys along with me. Since this is kind of a reaction channel, I don't have a really incredible, exciting life, but I'll try to make it exciting to watch. But please come along with me and learn about 13, a Novel. No one said becoming a man was easy, but wondering what it means to become a man is the least of Evan's problems. After being uprooted right before his 13th birthday from New York City to Appleton, Indiana, he is more focused on using this fresh start to find the right friends to invite to his bar mitzvah. I really hope I'm saying that right. I'm so sorry if I'm not. I'm not the best out loud reader. Because this is his chance to get in with the popular kids, the cool football players and pretty cheerleaders. But it's the weird kids who welcome him, like his nerdy neighbor, Petrus. Gosh dang it. I had this problem with my reaction in the musical, 13 the musical reaction. For some reason this name is not computing in my head. And Archie, whose crutches make him an easy target for bullying. Evan doesn't want to be laughed at for being different. He can pretend to be like the cool kids. He's sure he can. But if you spend all your time pretending to be someone else, who do you become? I didn't really get that theme from the musical version. This whole idea of wanting to be a part of the cool kids and trying to be someone that you're not. The theme that I got from the musical was this idea of what does it mean to be an adult? What does it mean to grow up? And I think that's a big question that most, I believe most teenagers go through, especially when you're in that middle school age and just so much is happening, your body, your hormones, your mind, there's so much happening internally. And on top of that, you have so much stuff going on externally, your friends, your classmates, school, homework, maybe you're getting a job on top of that, especially I guess in Jewish culture, that's a really big deal. I guess when you turn 13, you are officially an adult. I might need to do more research on that because I'm not Jewish and I don't know that culture at all. And I thought that theme, those questions were really important in the musical. I thought that was a really fantastic way to write a coming of age story. And I thought really drove home the point of this question of what is an adult? How do you become an adult? Do I want to become an adult? So this question at the end of this book, what if you spend all your time pretending to be someone else? Who do you become? I didn't really get that kind of a question in the story in the musical, or that theme in the musical, so that's different. Which is what I want, because I don't want to read a book that's like copy and paste from the musical. So I hope there's a lot more material in here that I can work off of as I write my video essay on 13. I hope you enjoy this experimental vlog that I'm trying to do for this channel.
I would rather be alone, spend my Friday nights at home. I would rather read a book all day than be out partying till dawn. 'Cause I'm an INTROVERT, yes that is me. I am rather good at curling up in bed watching TV. Oh, but it doesn't mean I'm lazy, no it doesn't mean I'm sad. I just prefer the company of a few friends than a room of people that I don't know. So please don't force me, 'cause I just don't wanna go.
So, bad news. I was just exporting all of my footage for my 13 the musical reaction video, and I just found out that I do a screen recording deal to record the videos that I'm watching, and I just found out that the audio didn't work, or the audio is just not there. It is completely gone. There's no sound there. Thankfully, 13 the musical is not the longest or biggest musical out there, so, and I don't think my reaction video is going to be that long, so I think it'll be fine. I'll just have to re-record the stage production video, but I don't have to like re-record the entire video, like me talking about it, reacting to it and stuff. I have that audio just fine. That's fine. I've had this happen to me once before, and that was not fun to deal with. The joys of making videos. So I'm going to record the video again, and while that is recording, I'm just going to do a little bit of reading, because why not? I'm just going to be sitting here waiting for that video to be done so I can start editing. Finished chapter 1. Not that long at all. 10 pages. I don't think I've read a children's novel in so long because the words are just so much bigger than what I'm used to. I'm used to like teeny tiny little words. I read a lot of books. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but I do. Although lately I've been reading a lot of books online, like on my phone or on the computer or something. Actually, now that I think about it, I haven't read a novel, like a physical copy, in a long time. I know that's hard to believe because of all the books that are right here. And most of those books I have read, probably like 2/3 of them, and there's still a lot of books that I want to go through and stuff, but I haven't picked up a physical copy in so long. I think this is the first physical book that I've read since like college. And it's not like I haven't picked up a book. Maybe I'll like pick up a book and read like a couple of chapters or something, or have to like skim through some things to find what I'm looking for. But I haven't like fully like read a book all the way through. This is like a first for me in so long, which is unlike me because I used to read books all the time when I was a kid. I think the reason why I haven't read a book in so long is, I don't know, college just kind of, I don't know if anybody else has had this, but college kind of made me just hate reading. Does that make sense? I used to read all the time, and then college came, and for 4 years it was constantly just textbook after textbook and reading different kinds of books that I had no interest in, and it was just too much information, and it got to the point where all I did was just read, but the reading wasn't enjoyable. And so by the time I graduated, I was just so burnt out from reading. And that's really sad. So I read a lot of books now online. It doesn't feel as daunting. But whenever I try to pick up a book from my bookshelf over here, or want to buy a book, like, it feels like it takes so much energy out of me. So the fact that I'm actually committing to reading this book, even if it's a children's novel, I'm actually committing and reading this book, like, this is actually a big deal. I haven't done this in so long. Sorry, I just went off on a rabbit trail. That was not planned. That just hit me all of a sudden. Anyway, so I finished chapter 1, and it's actually pretty heavy for like a preteen coming of age story. So this book is from Evan's point of view as the main character, and the whole first chapter is about his relationship with his dad and mom, and him discovering that his parents are gonna get a divorce because his dad found someone else prettier, basically. The next night at dinner, my dad said all the stuff you would expect. He never meant for it to happen. Life throws you strange curves. He loved me more than anything. I could see he was trying, but by the end of the meal, I had tuned him out. Sure, each one of his so-called explanations sounded reasonable, but to my ears, he was just spinning lies, desperate to get my forgiveness. He is. She wanted as far away from my dad as she could get, and I'm guessing she wanted to punish him a little bit too. You know, if he didn't want her, he wasn't going to get me either. In the end, I had no choice. I've had friends or talked to people that have experienced this before. Apparently it's not fun at all, especially if there's a lot of drama between the two parents and they try to use you in order to get back at the other parent. You want to drag me away from my father? Fine, you do that. Obviously, it doesn't matter to you what I want. Well, I don't care what you want, and I am not having a stupid bar mitzvah. And obviously the mom did not like that response at all. So she's like, nope, we're gonna have it. You're having your bar mitzvah, Evan Goldman, and you're having it in Appleton, Indiana with me and your Aunt Pam. And that is the end of that discussion, forever, period. Are we clear? And he says, yes, Mom. So yeah, that's basically how it ends. He feels like some sort of weirdo, fatherless, New York Jewish freak. I'm kind of shocked at how this whole thing started. I mean, in the musical, they also, bring up the whole divorced parent thing, and that they moved to Indiana. That's the whole, point of the first song, because he's turning 13, and then all of a sudden, all these things are changing in his life. But for some reason, reading it and going into much more detail about the relationship between his parents and what happened, what actually happened, it's just a whole mess, right? It's a whole family drama in the background that Evan doesn't know how to handle, but all he can do is just say, yes, Mom. I remember being 13 and feeling very helpless as well in situations with family members, and feeling like I didn't have much of a choice and just kind of had to go along with what was going on, even if I didn't agree. And that's very difficult. That's a very difficult position to be in. I feel for Evan, I do. Evan, she said, this is your religious education. I don't want a religious education. I want to go home. Mom ignored me completely. What do you even know about this guy? I asked, looking over her shoulder at the screen. I don't know anything yet, Mom said. That's why I'm calling him. Stop panicking. A rabbi's a rabbi. Some rabbis are child molesters. No, Evan, Mom nodded toward the screen. Rabbis are nice. Gosh. Have I been reading the wrong children novels? I remember reading things like that when I was 13. Okay, so finished chapter 2. I want to mention something that I realized in the first two chapters. There's a lot more adult involvement in this story. In the musical, there are no adults in that story. I mean, sure, the mom is mentioned, the dad is mentioned, but they don't have any lines. They're not present on stage. They're not really in the story, even though they're the reason why Evan moves to Indiana. And there's no Aunt Pam. There's no Rabbi. Rabbi Wiener? Is that his name? And so it's interesting to actually read and actually see the adults involved in Evan's story and how that impacts him. It gives the story a bit of a different vibe compared to the musical. And I think I actually might like the adults not being in the story better, because it focuses way more on the kids and Evan and all the drama that goes on between all of the kids. Because the adults aren't really the main focus of the story. I mean, sure, the whole divorce thing, all of that, like, that's serious and that is heavy and that is a part of Evan's story, but it's not the focus of the story. It's more of like the inciting incident of the story. It causes everything to happen. It's a domino effect. But the main point of the story is the kids. And I kind of like the idea that the adults aren't present. It's about the children and the focus is on the children. And that makes that the tone of the story kind of shifts when you do that. It's more childish, it's more immature, it's more rebellious, ridiculous. Obviously. Okay, finished chapter 3. So we're finally getting to meet a lot of other characters. The characters that we know from the musical, if you've seen the musical. And also he's trying to get in contact with his friends back in New York, back at home, and they're kind of distancing themselves from him. Not purposefully, of course, but just he moved away. Like, those things happen. Once friends move away, like, it's hard to stay in contact. I'm sure everybody has experienced that at some point. I've definitely experienced friends moving away and never seeing them again. And they get along really, really well. He finds out that her parents are split too, but she lives with her dad. They do lots of things together. Go eat ice cream, hang out at the park, watch movies together, read books. Archie's mentioned, but Evan hasn't met him yet at this point in the story. She takes him to the Methodist church where his bar mitzvah is going to be at, and he kind of realizes that the church basement that he's going to have his party in is big, and he only has 4 people that are going to come to his party, and that's not a good thing, I guess. He does not like that. Who in the world would come? At that point, I had a list of 4. My mom, Pam, Patrish, and the rabbi. I needed more friends, but how? So this is when Evan starts asking those questions and starts thinking of ways to figure out how does he get people to come to his party. And then at the end of the chapter, he gets to meet Brett and the popular kids like Lucy and Kendra. And Brett seems to have a liking to Evan. If he wants to play football, they want to hang out the next day. And so Evan says, yes, this is perfect, would love to. But he also sees that there's some drama between his best friend and the popular kids, and that they do not like each other at all. I looked at Patrish. That sounds cool, right? Lucy turned quickly. Not her, Brett. She can't come. She smirked. Nothing personal, of course. I could tell that Patrish was trying as hard as she could to pretend she didn't care, but I could also see that hurt in her eyes. Clearly, she and Lucy had some major history. Now, in the musical, there's no history between Patrish and Lucy that I know of, but in this book, apparently that is a much bigger deal. Anyways, so Evan decides that he wants to hang out with Brett and all of them, so he chooses Brett over his best friend. I turn to Brett. Count me in. Great. The drama has started.
As the day gets cold, my heart gets colder. I lose my soul, like my love for you.
It's a very
I
basic
stop myself and I shut my mouth. Don't hold my thoughts, they echo on you.
So it's literally almost midnight. I had a very busy day today, actually. I didn't record most of it. I just You know how life just keeps going and you just have to go along with it, and you just don't. It's just not natural to pick up a camera and say, like, I need to record this. It's just not natural. At least not for me. I'll also ignore the hairdo situation. I needed my hair out of my face. Finished chapter 4. I mean, not much happens. We have the whole beginning of Evan trying to write his speech, but that didn't go well. And then he goes off to meet with Brett and his friends, and he ends up coming across Archie, who waves him over, but Evan just completely ignores him. And then they get to this river, and they all jump into it, acting like it's totally fine. And Evan is scared, and they call him a scaredy cat. And but he's able to face his fear, I guess, and jump over the cliff and get into the river with them. And the kids, they all gossip, and they all make fun of other classmates in their grade. I remember in middle school, I never understood why there were people that wanted to hang out with the cool kids, the popular kids, the jocks, the cheerleaders, you know? I never really understood that because they're so mean. And they're always joking around and making fun of other people. And gossiping all the time, and there's just drama all the time. Like, what's all that for? Is that really worth it? But there are kids like Evan that, for whatever reason, just really want to be a part of the cool kids club, I guess. But they also don't seem to get along well with each other either. There's a little section between Kendra and Lucy. We get to know that Lucy and Kendra both like Brett, but Brett is only looking at Kendra. Oh, I want to lay down and sleep. I think I might like Evan a little less. I mean, he's 12 years old, so he's a child. Can't really get mad at him, but... Really, dude? So the beginning of this chapter is actually pretty cool. Some people are cool, and some people aren't. That's just the way life plays out. And I think, really, that being cool is just a matter of wanting to be cool. Not just wanting it, but wanting it enough. Enough to say that maybe this thing I thought I liked isn't as good as I thought it was, because the cool people don't like it. Like, okay, say I love chocolate, and I bring chocolate to lunch every day, and all the cool kids hate chocolate, but now I find out that they all love celery. Whoa, I need to go to sleep. And I don't like celery at all. Now, I'm not going to be cool just because I'd stop eating chocolate. That's wanting something a little, not wanting it enough. If I want to be cool, then I have to step it up. I have to love celery. Not just eat it, but love it. Throw away the chocolate, love celery. And if I can't do that, maybe I don't want it enough. It's a really neat way to explain this idea of like, if you want to pretend to be someone you're not, you have to almost convince yourself that you love that certain thing that all the cool kids love. You have to pretend and change yourself to be that new person. So Evan and Patricia are hanging out, and Evan tells Patricia what they did the day before. And of course, my girl, Patricia, does not like this at all. She thinks the whole prank was stupid, and it is stupid. She thinks the whole thing was just, there was just no point to it, it was just meaningless. And Evan just does not understand. I was starting to get really annoyed at her. I mean, who needed a school mom for a friend? On the other hand, part of me knew she was right. The prank had been stupid. But the other thing, too, is he says, like he knows that she's right, and that he went along with it because he felt he had to. But it also says in this chapter, even though I had told Patricia everything, I had left out something crucial, how it all felt. The truth was that once we started to pretend to beat up Eddie, it was exciting. And when the car actually stopped and the guy got out to help, it was a rush. Just because it's a stupid prank doesn't mean it's not fun. It felt good to be one of the gang, feeling like we had pulled something off. So we also kind of liked doing the prank too, so it's like, okay, are you going along with it just because you felt you had to, or did you actually enjoy it? Like, I don't know, isn't it one or the other? Can you be both? And then we actually finally get some backstory on the relationship between Patricia, Lucy, and Kendra. What is it with you and them anyway? Patricia leaned back on the couch. Ask Lucy and Kendra. It might surprise you to know that we were friends when we were younger. I couldn't quite picture that. What happened? Patricia shrugged. The minute we hit middle school, I suddenly didn't wear the right jeans, or say the right things. I didn't smoke. It was mostly Lucy. She shut me out first, and Kendra and the others followed right along. Wow, I said. That's bizarre. I think everybody could probably relate to this, because it's so weird. Like, there seems to be this weird, like, thing that happens between elementary and middle school. In elementary, everybody's cool with each other. You know, there's not that much drama that goes on. All of us are just kids being kids, right? But then you get to middle school, and all of a sudden, people will just change. Physically, mentally. It's a very confusing time to be a tween. And Evan does say this really sweet thing where, you know, he's looking at his best friend and, you know, he's like, I wish that I could do something to fix it because she's filled with all this hurt and anger towards these girls that did her wrong. And he wants to be a good friend. He wants to help her in this situation, but then he ruins it in the next page because the week before school, he stops hanging out with Patricia. And you know, it just gets worse from here. Because then he starts writing out all the invitations for everybody. I mean, how awkward would it be if she came? She hated them. They hated her. Why put myself through that on the most important day of my life? And then I had this really terrible thought. What if Brett and his gang found out Patricia was coming and then refused to come themselves? Oh, golly, man. I understand this is a very important party, but like, it's not that important. And you're not gonna invite your own best friend? And he ends up not. I closed the mailbox, slipped her invite back into my pocket, then called for Simon and ran home. So he invites all these people, but he doesn't invite his own new best friend. I mean, it's so sad. Like, golly, she's been helping you all summer write your speech, and she's so excited about your party. She's the only one that seems to truly care about you, and you don't invite her. And we've started middle school. And it does not go well for Evan, because of course not. So all the kids that he invited for his coming of age party are very confused by what a bar mitzvah is. But they're very, very rude about it. And I did feel bad for Evan about this. Like, these kids are just not tactful or thoughtful at all. And a lot of the kids don't think they can come, they don't like the idea of it, or they have something planned. And what makes it worse is that Patricia walks into class and she sees that everybody has an invitation, and obviously she didn't get hers in the mail. And Evan does feel bad about it, but he tries to justify it, kind of like what his dad tried to do when he got together with Angela, and said like, oh no, it's fine, like I love her, it's all gonna be fine, it's gonna be good. Ironically, that's what Evan is trying to do here as well. It didn't matter, I reminded myself. Patricia wouldn't want to be at a party with all the cool kids anyways. Besides which, we weren't really even friends anymore. Right? Wrong. Wrong, Evan. It's not the fact that she doesn't want to be at a party with the cool kids. She wants to be at the party with you, Evan. With you. Patricia actually confronts him about the situation, and so he lies to her, telling her that he was going to give her the invitation, and she sees right through him and she just storms off. She's very, very upset, and she has the right to be Evan. She has the right to be. But I had done what I thought was right. Patricia would get over it. It wasn't that big of a deal. After all, it was just a bar mitzvah. Everything was working out for the best. You're such a hypocrite. This whole story is about you freaking out about your coming of age party and who's gonna come and who's not gonna come and all of that. And now you're saying, oh, she's making a big deal out of it. She's being dramatic. Get over yourself, kid. And then at the very end of the chapter, we finally get to meet Archie. Hey, I said, what's up? Archie smiled. So, he said, I hear you're having a party. That's a really good way to end the chapter. And a good way to end tonight.
Try to forget, but the thoughts, they seem to drown me instead. I've always wondered what it takes to fill this empty void inside. But now I've realized you are what I needed this whole time.
Good morning. So while I was eating, I read another chapter, chapter 7, and literally it was just one scene of Archie and Evan chit-chatting. This is kind of like Archie's introduction chapter, really, because this is the first time we really get to talk to Archie. We get to know a little bit about Archie, and he's quite the character. I'm starting to realize that all these characters have their quirks and cons and all that, because Archie, I mean, he has quite the sense of humor, but he knows that he has an advantage over other people and he uses it. If he has a goal in mind, he will go after it no matter the cost. I felt bad about Archie's situation. I really did, but I wanted out of there. My eye caught the clock over his head. Well, listen, I said. It's been great talking to you, but I'm late for lunch. Oh, you'll be fine, Archie said. Just tell them you were walking me to the nurse's office. You can always use me as an excuse. Whenever you don't want to do something or get in trouble, just say, sorry, I was helping out my friend who has a muscular dystrophy. So Archie says, I'll back you up, you're my friend. And Evan's just really confused, and he's like, what? We only just met, how are we friends? Here's the thing, he said. Since we're friends now, I was thinking that you should get me a date. I looked around to see if anyone was playing a joke on me. With Kendra Peterson, he went on. Can you make that happen? I'm sorry, I said. Archie moved even closer. You know, a date, like to a movie or IHOP. With Kendra, I had to make sure I heard right. The head cheerleader? She's going out with Brett, the most popular boy in the whole school. You'll never get near her. So like in the musical, we learn that Archie has a huge crush on Kendra and wants to get together with her, but there's a whole status quo here. He can't cross that line, you know. And then here is a whole like that tongue conversation again that was in the musical. Archie rolled his eyes. They're not going out. They haven't done the tongue. What does that mean? That's the rule. You're not going out until you do the tongue, Archie said, and Kendra won't let Brett do it. It's so weird to talk about these things, but this is a children's novel. I don't know why I'm talking about... If you're a kid watching this vlog, one, hi there, and two, please ignore all these things that these kids talk about. It's honestly stupid. You don't need to worry about these kinds of things. And so Evan's confused and he asks why, and Archie's like, well, she looked at me during biology class and she smiled at me. Oh, this poor kid. I actually did know a couple of boys like this, where if a girl just even looks at the guy just suddenly just has this massive crush on this girl because she looked at him and smiled at him. So because Kendra smiled at Archie, Archie wants to go on a date with her, and he wants Evan to help him, which also is kind of strange. And so of course Evan's like, no, what the heck, that's weird. And so Archie, this is where my point of view of Archie kind of shifted, because at first, you know, again, like, he seems like a very sweet kid, but then the tables turn and Archie starts showing, I don't know, his true colors. I mean, I don't know if you could really say that about a kid, but he starts basically almost blackmailing Evan, saying that, well, I'm gonna go to your bar mitzvah and I'm gonna pretend to have a seizure, and if you don't help me get a date with Kendra, then you can't get back with Patricia, and I'm gonna say all these things and I'm gonna go tell your mom. And like, he was like, basically one after another, he was listing out all these things that he could do to Evan if Evan did not help him. Suddenly there was nothing charmy, quirky, or even sad about Archie. Disease or not, this was hardball. If he came to my bar mitzvah, I'd be doomed. Honestly, Archie is not the sweet, lovable, sickly kid that you think he would be. This dude is very conniving. Archie transformed instantly. His eyes softened, his posture loosened. He was suddenly a typical sweet 12-year-old boy. So Evan sees firsthand how manipulative Archie can be. The minute she was out of sight, Archie was grinning. You know what I could have done just then, he said. What? He shrugged. I could have flopped on the floor and told her you pushed me. This kid, I swear. This is why no matter the person, no matter if they have some sort of disability, disease, whatever, you don't treat them special. They'll make their disease or disability as an excuse. I've seen it personally firsthand too, so you gotta be careful. This is a perfect example of why. But remember, Archie said, good things can happen if you help me. Because Evan has witnessed what Archie can do to get what he wants, Evan agrees to try to find a way for Archie to get a date with Kendra. And that's the end of the chapter. I kind of like that they wrote him like this. He is a little different than what you would usually see from a character like Archie. And also, I think Archie is a good representation that all these kids are nut jobs. None of them are innocent. None of them are sweet, innocent little tweens. I cannot believe all the gaslighting in this book because what was that about, I ask? You didn't have to trip me. Brett seemed to be keeping himself from laughing. I didn't trip you, Brain. You were just running too hard out there. You gotta learn to take it easy. When Brett was the one to tell Evan to run faster. So Brett tells Evan that he needs his help. He and his friends want to go see The Blood Master, the rated R movie that everyone's talking about. And he wants to have a date with Kendra while they're going to see this movie. But the problem is that they can't get into this movie because it's rated R. So he tells Evan to go tell Evan's mom to get them tickets to go see The Blood Master. Okay, I said, then I shrugged. But what if she said no? Brett opened the door. Simple. If she says no, you make her say yes. Logic, I guess. Make it work, or none of us are coming to your little party. So now, not only does Evan have one problem with Archie, but he has another problem with Brett. And what's ironic is it involves the same girl. And even though Brett seems kind of dumb, I mean, he is kind of dumb, but he's a lot more sneaky than you would think. Just all this manipulation that he was doing throughout these last couple of pages on this chapter, like, did he learn this from his dad or mom? Like, I'm so confused how kids can learn how to manipulate a situation to get what they want. It's absolutely bizarre what these kids can come up with. Come on, Archie went on. I'll walk you to the gym. That way, nobody will give you trouble. All right, score 1 for the kid with the disease. I think this story is not only about learning to be an adult, learning to grow up. I think this is also a story about guilt tripping. And there's a lot of that too in the musical, but there's just way more in this book. So the first half of this chapter is a conversation between Evan, Archie, and Patricia. So Archie hears the conversation between Brett and Evan somehow. And he says, this is perfect, this is an opportunity. And so, of course, Evan's confused. He's like, what opportunity? This is just more work for me to do. He'll go to the movies with them and sit next to Kendra. And then he'll prove that he's the man for Kendra, not Brett. At this point, I just gave up fighting. I don't blame you, Evan. And so Patricia is of course not happy about this. And her and Evan argue a little bit, and so then she's like, no, well, I'm gonna go too then. And he's like, no, you can't, it's rated R. And she's like, well, yes, I can, see you there. So now he has to figure out how to get these tickets, how to get his mom to come with them to this rated R movie. So then he decides he's going to guilt trip her. And this is where he uses the magic Jewish power, the power of guilt. And I mean, it was pretty effective. So apparently he hasn't talked to his mom in like 2 weeks. And he's like, you know, Mom, I realized today that I've been unfair. My mother looks surprised. What do you mean? I know this isn't your fault, I say. I know you've had to make a lot of really difficult choices and you're doing the best you can. And I really respect you for the way you're handling things. My mother blushes. A tear comes to her eye. Oh, honey, I don't actually think I'm doing all that well by you. No, I say, you are. You've been so strong, and I've been mean, Mom. I'm sorry. She hugs me. Thank you, Evan. So he goes on talking about how he doesn't need friends. He just needs to study hard and, you know, be strong like his mom. And so his mom is just like, you know what? I'll take you to that rated R movie. I'll pay for those tickets too. You'll be totally fine. You'll get to hang out with your friends, and I'll leave, and I'll come back to pay you guys up afterwards. And that is how we all got to the Blood Master on Friday night. Oh my gosh. And it's honestly really sad too, because he's apologizing to her, you know, being understanding towards her. Like, he's saying all these nice things to her that I'm sure she's really grateful for, you know, but he's doing that for his own gain. He's not apologizing from the heart. There's just a lot of things wrong in this chapter. So the scenes are a lot different compared to the musical at this point, because there's literally a song of Archie using his disease to convince the mom to let them go to the movie theaters, and that doesn't happen here at all. I burnt my pizza. Sad day. It's just the tongue conversation again. I'm done. Let's stop, please. Archie smiled. So that's when I slip her the tongue, right? No, I said, no tongue. Forget the tongue. Thank you, Evan. Oh. I can see why they screamed when they watched The Bloodmaster. This is very descriptive for a children's novel about somebody eating somebody else. So, one, the mom takes everybody to the movie theater, and then Patrice shows up, and Evan was not planning on that. And then he also finds out that she also brought Archer with her. And Evan is beside himself. He's worried that Archie's gonna make a fool out of himself. And what do you know? Archie makes a fool out of himself. What's really sad is that Kendra is so nice to Archie. Like, genuinely super sweet. She says hi, you know, and she tells him his suit is fine. And yet Archie, for some reason, cannot say hi back. He can't really talk to her. He can't communicate with her. So for all his bravo about being super romantic and he's gonna kiss her and all this different stuff, he doesn't do any of that. He literally can't function when she says hi. So he makes a fool of himself, unfortunately, and all the guys in Brett's group are making fun of him, so he ends up leaving. Evan doesn't know what to do, and Patricia gets mad at Evan for not helping and standing up for Archie, and then she ends up leaving too. A side of me wanted to defend Archie, but the other side of me felt he deserved everything he got. Sure, Fudge shouldn't have said what he said. On the other hand, what right did Archie have to crash the party and ruin the movie? What right did he have to coerce me into helping him in the first place? And that is true, right? Because there's no reason why Evan should help Archie. I mean, they're not actually really friends. Kendra is, I mean, kind of with Brett anyway, so it's like, why are you gonna insert yourself into that relationship? And lastly, I mean, Archie did make a fool of himself. He didn't speak. He didn't speak up. He didn't say hi. I mean, you'll need to read the chapters, but I mean, I got a lot of secondhand embarrassment from him. So Brett and Kendra start going in for the kiss. But they don't even get to kiss because then the lights turn on. And we find out that Archie ended up going to the manager and telling them that there were underage kids in the rated R movie. So instead of the musical where chaos happens and everybody just ends up leaving, Archie goes and tells on them. So everybody is really mad at him and asking why he did it. And then he says this, and this is where, Why, dude? Brett asked. We were just watching a movie. Archie shrugged. Ask Evan. He's the one who invited me. I've never been in quicksand, but I suddenly had a good idea of how it felt. What? I shouted. No, I didn't. I turned to Brett. He invited himself. Archie shook his head. No. We worked it all out so I could take his seat. But I was just... Brett didn't let me finish. Suddenly, everything was my fault. So then Brett gets mad at Evan, and then he and the boys do a whole wedgie thing. And honestly, it's quite descriptive too. I don't know why Jason felt like he had to go describe that whole experience, but... And Brett and his gang leave. And it's just Evan, Archie, and Patricia. And so Archie then starts yelling at Evan. He says, you didn't do anything. Archie yelled, they were so mean and you didn't even help. And then Patricia says, how could you just sit there and watch that happen? Don't you have a soul? They're not listening to him. They start leaving, and Evan says, hey, wait, I called after them. Are you just going to abandon me here? Patricia looked back at me, the sadness in her eyes mingling with anger. Now you know how it feels. Okay, I was on her side throughout this entire book, but like, that's extremely immature. And it's not even the same thing. I mean, yes, Evan has hurt her a lot. I mean, yes, I'm not discounting that at all. But this is a very different situation. Evan had nothing to do with with this whole Archie situation. Archie was the one that put himself in this position, and he was the one that kind of caused all the chaos to happen. And so to blame Evan and say, you didn't help me, you humiliated me, all this different stuff, it's like, dude, you were the one that couldn't even speak. I mean, what is Evan supposed to do? And Evan did try. He did try to stand up for him. It was just after Archie left, so he didn't know that Evan did speak up for him. So it's just not the same situation, girl. It's just not the same situation. So this whole chapter was just wild. And I'm not going into detail about the Bloodmaster movie. That was, wow. I will say this book is doing a great job of making me like feel for all the characters in different ways, but also get annoyed with them at the same time. I guess that's teenagers for you, right? This was actually a very quick chapter, but I felt it was very meaningful. So in the beginning of chapter 11, Evan makes up a lie about what happened at the movie theater and why no one was there when his Aunt Pam picked him up. What's also different about the whole movie theater situation is at the end of all the chaos and everything, Kendra and Brett break up, basically, and then Lucy and Brett get together. That does not happen at all in chapter 10. They all just leave. There's no drama between Brett's group. So then he has a whole scene with his rabbi. He's continuing to try to learn how to speak Hebrew for his coming of age party, and it's not going very well. And this little dialogue right here is something that I think is so important for this story. Try harder, I managed. I've tried as hard as I can. The rabbi shrugged and picked up a small piece of lint off of his pant leg. You know, Evan, no one said becoming a man was easy. I didn't ask for easy, I said. This just isn't fair, he sighed. Growing up isn't always fun, you know. All I want is to fit in with the people who fit in. My eyes went back to the Hebrew, but he leaned over and closed the book. Seriously, Evan, he said, tell me, what's so important about being popular? I was floored. How could the only rabbi in Indiana not know what it felt like to be an outcast? The horrible feeling of eating your lunch all alone, being the only kid not invited to a party. Didn't he know what it meant to be cool? That you always had a crowd? That you were a somebody who was a part of something? All right, listen, he said, turning to face me. One day you're going to be old. You don't believe that right now, but it's true. And when you're old, all of this about being cool and being popular will be 1,000,000 miles away. So what, I thought. I've got to deal with it now. Be a man, Evan. And for the first time in my life, I wanted to. I'm not sure what else is going to be said in the rest of this book, but I think that ties in with the entire theme of this story. This whole idea of like, it's important to be cool, it's important to be popular, it's important to be somebody, it's important to fit in with everybody, with all the cool kids. When you really look at it, is it really that important? And sure, it might seem important right now when you're in the moment. I think all of us can relate to that. When you're a preteen and you're going through all this stuff, you think that's the most important thing in the world. But 10 years down the line, or 20 or 30 or however many, you're going to look back and realize like, wow, that didn't matter at all. Why was I so anxious about that? But it really gets Evan thinking. And then he starts writing the beginning of his speech. And then his mom walks in and says his dad is on the phone. And throughout this whole book, his dad's been trying to get a hold of Evan, but Evan doesn't want to talk to him. But his mom kind of forces him to and says, no, you need to talk to him. You can't stay angry forever, which is kind of hypocritical coming from her, but forces larger than myself were conspiring to make me take the call. Besides, deep down, I wanted to speak to him. I've wanted to speak to him for weeks. And then Evan just kind of blows up. He starts crying, he starts screaming, he starts yelling at his dad, and I had to give my dad some credit. He didn't hang up. He didn't try to cut me off. He just took it. And then his dad invites him over to his home for the weekend, and he's just so excited. Like he just feels like a weight is off his shoulders. Like he feels much happier than he has in like a long time since they moved to Indiana. So yeah, I really like this chapter. It's interesting that his dad comes right after that conversation with the rabbi, talking about what it means to be a man. Because his dad hasn't really ever been a man, you know, like he left his wife for another woman, he left his child, and even though he's trying to stay in contact, I mean, the dad did a lot of damage. And I don't think that's really a man. So Evan doesn't really have a good role model right now, in my opinion.
Breaking all these bars hard to try and fix my own one. It's never any real fun, whatever my intention.
We are here. It's been another long day, but a productive day, so a win for me. Thankfully, it's not as late as last night. Right now, it's like 10 o'clock right now, so it's much better than like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm really comfortable in this position. I don't want to get up. Can I just talk to you from here? I'm just gonna assume he said yes. I don't want to get any closer to the camera right now. So this chapter is about Evan staying at his father's apartment in New York. And at first everything is great. He and his dad are hanging out, chilling, doing all kinds of things together. Angela is nowhere to be seen, really. And then Evan goes to one of his former friends, bar mitzvah. And at first everything is just going splendidly. He catches up with everybody, he's having a blast at the party. Also, apparently they serve champagne for minors at these kinds of events. And as they're drinking, then all the kids start talking about all the different things that are going on at their school. And of course, because Evan is not there anymore, he has no idea what's going on, and nobody's filling him in. Had it only been a month and a half since I moved to Indiana? Sure, the guys had all switched schools because it was the beginning of junior high, but was it really possible for me to be so out of touch so quickly? So then he starts looking for the girl that he has a crush on. Before we get any further, I am shocked. I mean, unfortunately, it's not the full word. It goes from one sentence to the next, but this is a children's novel. I might have read the wrong children's novels when I was a kid, but I don't remember cuss words being in a children's novel. For children, preteens, tweens, whatever you want to call it. Like, because this is not the first time a cuss word has been in this book, but I'm just really surprised. I'm learning so much right now about children's novels, I guess. Maybe this is a thing that's okay nowadays. However, this was first published in 2008 or 9, I think. Honestly, the more I read the story, the more I realize why my mom never mentioned this story to me when I was a kid, if she even knew about it. Anyway, so he goes to look for his crush, and then he finds her kissing one of his best former friends. And they're just going at it in public, apparently. And at this point, Evan just has had enough. He can't deal with any more of everything he's feeling. So he goes home early, and again, this is just awkward and weird. I heard the bedroom door creak open. Out came Dad wearing a white robe, one that Mom had gotten him for Hanukkah 3 years earlier. "Hey buddy," he said. I didn't have to wonder why he was in a bathrobe. Angela called from the bedroom. "Hey sweetie, is it Evan?" Dad looked at me with the same sheepish expression that had been on his face the day he told me that he and Mom were divorcing. Angela came strutting into the room wearing nothing but one of Dad's long dress shirts. I stared at the TV and counted the seconds until I could get back on the plane to Indiana. What are these adults in Evan's life? Nobody's a good role model. That's so weird. I can't imagine. Okay, so if I have, let's say, like, for example, I was dating a guy and this guy had a kid, right? I can't imagine basically being half naked in front of my boyfriend's child. That's so inappropriate. And the dad's acting like it's normal. He's just acting like it's all fine. It's all good and dandy. I don't mind if there are serious, heavy topics in children's novels. I think that's actually, it can be a really good thing, actually. But I don't know if it's appropriate to add some things like this in a children's novel. It's not like the authors outright said that, the Dad and Angela are having sex in the bedroom, but there's just so much talk of sex and kissing and all of that in this book that it's getting to the point where it's like, I understand this is a coming of age story, but these kids are 12, 13-year-olds. Like, they're not 16, 17, 18. Like, I need to think more on this topic. Anyway, so Evan starts the chapter really, really excited, and then he ends the chapter very, very sad. So Evan is just not doing well right now.
Am I enough, or am I just a shame? Should I go, or should I stay? The silence is creeping. Think of something to say. You stutter and mumble. Today's just not your day. You smile and
Well,
smile.
that was fun. So I found out a couple weeks ago, or was it a month ago, 2 months ago? I can't remember. But I found out that I have chronic pain in my neck. So fun. And because I have chronic pain in my neck, I have pain everywhere in my body. My back, my knees, even my toes apparently. And apparently I've been living with chronic pain for years. And I just never knew. Apparently you can have chronic pain and not know. The only reason why I found out was because I was having a lot of issues with like ribs going out, chest hurting, knees going wonky, like whole slew of things. And so I got so frustrated because I was dealing with this for months. I ended up going to get an x-ray and doing some scans and stuff and found out I had chronic pain. Thankfully, the doctors that I found are so nice and so helpful, and they gave me a treatment plan and everything. So I'm doing this like year-long treatment plan to help with my chronic pain. So very, very thankful for them. So I went in for an appointment today. I just got re-scanned and everything because I'm at that checkpoint where I can do that so we can see if there's any progress with everything. So I did those scans today. I did some paperwork, got adjusted again. I feel pretty good. So now I need to run some small errands, and I think while I'm doing that, I'm gonna go get some donuts because I am craving the donuts. I got them. So exciting. I'm gonna place y'all somewhere else because this is a very awkward position to be in. Okay, I think that's good. Is that better? So while we're here, let's try to finish the last couple of chapters. There's 6 more. So Evan is flying back from New York and he's having a whole reflection moment. And this first paragraph in chapter 13 is really, really good. Be a man, Rabbi had said. I saw on the plane home from New York and tried to figure out what that meant. If there was some kind of test, I figured I was scoring in the negative numbers. All right, I thought. To be a man must mean that I'm supposed to take responsibility for who I am and what I do. An image flashed through my mind, and once it did, it remained imprinted there like the light from a camera flash. Patrice. He has this whole reflection moment, and then he goes to find Archie. And he finds Archie at his house, and I'm pretty proud of Evan here. Evan kind of stands up for himself with the whole movie theater situation, because Archie's trying to ignore Evan, give him the silent treatment. All right, I said. I know you're mad at me about the movie. I'm sorry I didn't have your back. I'm sorry I let you down. Silence. I went on. But you weren't fair to me either, you know? Showing up at the movie like that, blaming me when I had done exactly what you asked me to do, we were both jerks. Now, I'm saying I'm sorry, and I mean it. So I'm proud of Evan for standing up for himself and saying, hey, like, I made some mistakes, but you did all this stuff. I did exactly what you wanted, and then you went in and started doing all this crazy stuff and, you know, blew the whole movie theater date up. So then Evan asks Archie to help him get back together with Patrice. And then Archie tells this whole story about what happened on the weekend that Evan was gone. And golly, it's a lot. So since the Bloodmaster movie and all the shenanigans that happened there, all the parents find out, and so all the kids get punished one way or another, except for Lucy. For some reason, Lucy's parents either didn't know or they just didn't care, so Lucy's the only one that didn't get punished for going to see a rated R movie. And since she has all this free time on her hands, she uses that time to get Brenda and Kendra to separate. She tells Kendra that her and Brett are getting along and they're hanging out all the time. She tells Brett that Kendra says all these nasty things about him being a dumb jock. And so by the end of the week, things just blow up. Brett was angry at Kendra and she was mad right back. And Lucy, she was just spending her time ready to grab Brett for herself. So there's this big game that happens, football game that Brett and his friends are in, and Kendra and Lucy are the cheerleaders, so it's a huge event. Brett's team is losing, Kendra gets emotional and ends up crying under the bleachers, and Lucy's just having an absolute ball over this. Like, this is what she's been waiting for. Meanwhile, Lucy was under the stands consoling Kendra. "I could see it in his eyes," Kendra said. "He still wants me. I know he does. Why won't he talk to me?" Lucy was all over that. "Why should he talk to you? You yelled at him about the movie, and you haven't called him all week to apologize." "How could I?" Kendra said. "My parents haven't let me near the phone." Lucy shrugged. "Sucky timing. But Brett told me yesterday that he's going to find a girl who doesn't treat him like he's stupid." With that, Kendra started to really cry. Like, that's awful. Like, oh my gosh. And then there's this whole really weird section that I mean, this is from Archer's perspective. This is Archer's storytelling, so you can't fully rely on Archer and make sure that he has his facts straight, you know? Like, even Evan says right here, again, since Archie is the one who told me this, some of the dialogue may sound a little weird. For all I know, Archie made up the whole thing. But since the end result's the same, I'm just going to pass on it and hope for the best. So this might not be true, and this is just Archie being Archie. So at the end of the game, apparently Brett yells tongue, and then other people start yelling tongue, and then there's this whole chanting of tongue, 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 tongue. And apparently it gives Brett the strength to move on and push through and win the game for them. He was reveling in the crowd's response, feeding off of it. Every tongue seemed to restore some part of his lost soul. And so as everybody is chanting tongue, Lucy goes onto the field and then kisses Brett. Lucy puts her hands behind Brett's head, leaned in, and kissed him with tongue. Lots of tongue. Poor Kendra, golly. She is the victim in all of this. All of this. So after Archie tells him this whole story, he then tells Evan, "Now you have to get Kendra and Brett back together." Again, why is Evan the one that has to get everyone together? So my phone died. I guess it got a little overheated. It's honestly not hot right now. It's pretty cool, but inside the car, of course, without any air conditioning and the sun beaming down in the windows, I mean, it does get a little hot in the car. So I guess my phone just couldn't handle it anymore. So I ended up driving to a park and I found some nice shade, so I'm hoping that will help. I would go outside actually and read the book and talk about it and stuff, but there are children in the park right now, and I don't want them hearing me talking about tongues. But I was almost done talking about this chapter. So Archie tells Evan that Brett is being tutored by Patrice. And so Archie tells him that, hey, you go over there right now and talk to both of them. Tell Brett that you'll help him get back together with Kendra, and at the same time you can restore your friendship with Patrice. And Evan does point out that he's like, wait, Archie, didn't you want to get together with Kendra? Why are you telling me to get Brett and Kendra together when you want Kendra? And Archie does not seem disturbed by that at all. He seems totally fine with that all of a sudden. "I'm not threatened by Brett. I have my own plans. I was beginning to realize that with Archie, you just had to trust whatever unusual logic was going on in his head. He had a plan, and he was going to see it through." So chapter 14 is basically the chapter version of the song Tell Her from the musical. So Evan finds Brett and Patrice, and Brett's not doing well. He cannot figure out his math problem, and I don't blame him. I was terrible at math in school. So Brett says, "Look, Brain," he said, What would you say if I was the one who made the stupid mistake and lost my girl, and I was coming to you for advice? And Evan just sighed. He's like, this was actually the perfect opening. So then Evan starts talking about what he would tell her if she was there, right? Even though Patrice is right next to him. So even though he's giving advice to Brett, he's also communicating to Patrice and saying, I'm sorry. And Brett is just being super funny because he's like writing this all down and then he's like tearing up at the end. And then he's like, okay, I gotta go. What's interesting is that I really like the Tell Her song. I think it's super, super sweet. But for some reason in this book, I mean, it's still nice, right? Like these two are apologizing to one another. But I don't know, it doesn't feel as sweet as the musical did. I don't know if it's because there's a lot more drama between them in this book and it doesn't feel as sweet and genuine when they talk to one another, apologize to one another. Because Evan was absolutely awful to her throughout the book. And Patrice wasn't all that nice either, especially in the movie theater situation. I guess because they had more drama, you would think this moment is a lot sweeter because of all the drama, right? But for some reason, there's such bad blood between the two that I'm just kind of like, well, of course, you know, forgive and move on kind of a thing. But if I was Patrice and Evan walked up to me and wanted to ask for forgiveness and all that stuff, I would give it to him. But I don't know if I would be friends with him again. Like, there's this section right here. Patrice nodded again. Tell her that even though she did some things that made you really mad, you always knew how much she cared about you. And when she's saying she actually means he, which is Evan. But the thing is, throughout the book, Evan, because this is Evan's point of view, we get really inside his head and understand his thought process and get to know his personality and his quirks, you know. There was times where it felt like he didn't really care about her at all. So for Patrice to say, tell her that even though she did some things that made you really mad, you always knew how much she cared about you. Did he really? Like, I can believe that in the musical because it did seem like he really cared a lot for Patrice. Whereas in this book Evan just did not seem to care much for her at all. So to read that line and read the rest of this chapter, I just don't buy it. I don't believe it as much. So while Evan's working on his speech, multiple people start calling his mom saying like, when is the bar mitzvah? What do we wear? Yada, 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 asking all these questions. And Evan is like super confused because he's like, only Patrice is going and my family, that's it. Like, who else is gonna come? And then Kendra and Brett show up at his house and they tell him that they are together and they wanted to thank him. What did I do? I said, feeling more nervous than proud. What did you do? Kendra asked. She sat down on the couch and Brett flopped down happily next to her. Evan, you completely saved the day. I did? Dude, Brett said, you told me this afternoon that I had to own up to making a mistake and just ask for a second chance, and I did. I just went over to Kendra's house and I was like, I'm sorry, please forgive me. And I didn't want to forgive him, Kendra interrupted, but look at that face. So then Kendra says that she told Brett that everybody has to go to Evan's bar mitzvah to thank him. And so Brett was the one that told everybody, hey, we're going to this party and you have to come, you have no choice. So now suddenly everybody's coming to this party and he is so excited. But before they leave, Evan takes Kendra aside and asks her if she can go on a date with Archie, which is just so weird. I don't think this is the moment to like ask that kind of a question since she just got together with Brett, but okay. And Kendra is of course a little skeptical over this whole situation, but Evan's like, look, he's sick, he's going to die one day. If you go on a date with him, this will make him so happy. And so, you know, she's kind of reluctant about it, but she's like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. And so then they leave and Evan is just freaking ecstatic over this. He starts daydreaming about what his party is gonna be like. This is actually really sad. Mom and Dad sitting together, laughing as they watch everyone having such a great time. Maybe he puts his hand on hers. Maybe she takes it. Maybe they kiss. Oh, so sad. Even though the whole divorce thing is kind of like a side aspect to the story, there's always these little moments where Evan's talking about his mom and dad, and it's just so sad. Oh, if you're wondering what happened to the donuts, While I was waiting for the phone to cool down, I decided to eat my donuts. So unfortunately, you do not get to see the glorious donuts, but they were very delicious, I promise you. The very first line of chapter 16. And then I got punched in the face. So he gets to school and everybody is suddenly avoiding him again. Nobody's talking to him. They're acting like he's the plague or something. And he keeps asking people like, what's going on? What's happening? Why is everybody avoiding me? You know, and no one's speaking to him. Well, the only two people that are speaking to him are Kendra and Lucy. They're acting normal. And he's very confused by Lucy because Kendra and Brett are back together. So why is Lucy all of a sudden seeming so happy? It seems she was taking the news about Kendra and Brett surprisingly well. Maybe Lucy was a better person than I had given her credit for. Maybe Kendra's friendship meant more to her than dating Brett. So while they are talking, Kendra and Evan schedule a meetup after school to discuss the day between Kendra and Archie. And after they schedule that meeting, then they go on their separate ways and everybody continues to avoid him. He also keeps getting some text messages from Patrice, some phone calls, but then his phone crashes and breaks, and so he's not able to actually look and see what those text messages are. So he meets up with Kendra, and they're trying to figure out a day where her and Archie can have their date. And then they hear this chant, fight, fight, fight. And then suddenly Brett and like the entire school, 200 kids, it says, come into the lunchroom, and Brett just looks angry. He yells at Evan and Kendra, and he even wraps his hand around Evan's throat and picks him up and just throws him. This dude is strong. And of course, Kendra and Evan are just so confused. They're telling him to stop, they're asking what's going on, and Brett just won't listen to them. And all these kids are hollering, chanting, whatever. They're not being helpful. Kendra tries to make Brett see reason, but he is just not listening to her, and then ends up punching Evan in the face. Kendra screams, Brett runs off, and everybody follows him. Evan's nose is bleeding, and Kendra just seems to be in shock. And then Archie comes in, and he seems to have no social awareness at all. And Kendra is just not there. Like, she's in deep shock right now. I don't blame her, because there was one time where I witnessed a school fight, and I wasn't in the middle of it, but I was close to one of the guys that got in the fight, and I remember that completely just put me in shock. Like, I did not know what to do. I didn't know what was going on. It scared me. And then my friend had to go to the nurse's office, and then he got suspended for a couple of days. I mean, it was this whole mess. Looking into her face, I realized I had never seen anyone look that sad in my entire life. So this poor girl, again, I think she's the victim in all of this. She doesn't bully anybody. She's not outright mean to anybody. She does seem like a little bit oblivious, but like, she's not a bad girl at all. And everybody seems to want her and are making choices for her, and she seems like she has no control over her life, over her friendships. Nobody seems to let her have a say, or let her feel her emotions, or let her decide. So then she ends up walking away, and Archie is just confused and then becomes really unhappy. He's devastated. And how the authors wrote this moment was really good. Like, it really got me. I really felt like I was in that room. What did you do to her? I rolled onto my back. Oh, Archie, please, I didn't do anything. Didn't he notice the blood dripping down my chin and onto my shirt? She's gone, he said. I wrote her a song and she's gone. So he gets all upset, and then he ends up walking out of the room, and Evan's just like, aren't you gonna help me out, man? Like, I'm bleeding here. And somehow, I guess, his mom and Patrice found out where he was, because then they come in and help him off the floor. Pretty sad ending to this very sad chapter. So much happened in this chapter, oh my gosh. Another thing I realized is that in the musical, we get to see many different perspectives, especially in this moment, because in this chapter we actually get to see Lucy, who was the one that caused all of this. We actually get to see her make the calls, gossip, spread the rumor that Evan and Kendra are in a relationship. And here we don't get to see that at all, because this book is just in Evan's perspective. It would never have occurred to her that her best friend could have set her up like that. Honestly, Kendra might now be my favorite character in this story. The poor girl. She needs somebody by her side, and I'll be that person. It is hailing and pouring right now. Yes, I changed clothes. The rain got me, so I'm really, really glad I came home when I did, because it was hailing hard when I got back. And we live out in the country, so the wind can be atrocious out here. It was hailing so hard that the ground was just covered in white. It looked like it was snowing. 2 more chapters. Let's go. The mom is absolutely losing it right now. She's calling all these kids a bunch of anti-Semites. You come out here to the middle of the country and you're surrounded by Jew haters. Ma'am, these are children. Illiterate, anti-Semitic terrorists. Again, ma'am, they're kids, they're children. I know they're stupid, I get it, but they're children. She learns about all the drama that happened at Evan's school, and she's furious at them, but I think she's truly actually furious at herself, because she's the one that had them move there in the first place, so I'm guessing she feels really guilty about all the things that happened to Evan. But of course, that's just a speculation because the mom doesn't outwardly say that she feels guilty about all this. It's just, I'm just kind of reading between the lines on that one. She blames the kids and say like, oh, they are Jewish haters. Like, they're at fault, these nasty kids, we should never have moved here. All this stuff. And Evan tries to like make her see reason. Come on, Mom, I said. This wasn't about being Jewish. Brett would have done this no matter what religion I was. He just got caught up in a stupid rumor and he hit me. That's all. And of course, that doesn't appease the mom. She's like, that's all? Okay, we quit. We're canceling the party. You're going back to New York. I'm gonna go find us a new place to live. Like, she's just going bonkers here. The mom's going crazy and Evan just calmly says, no, we're not doing any of that. And the mom is shocked by this. And so he says, listen, I said, I don't want to spend any more time feeling like everything's up in the air. I didn't want to leave New York to be in this absurd place, but we did. And now that we did, I want to see it through. No one's going to beat me up. To tell the truth, no one even cares that I'm alive anymore. So let's just have the bar mitzvah. You, me, Pam, Patrice, and Rabbi Wiener. I can't believe that's his name. If no one else comes, that's fine. I need to do this already, okay? Get it over with and move on. We all need to move on. He shows a lot of emotional maturity and says, you know what? No, we're going to stay here. We're going to see this through. We're going to do the party, even if nobody comes. And when he gets to school, everybody ignores him. Nobody talks to him. Nobody says anything to him. Nobody, it says, nobody threatened me. Nobody mocked me. So that's good. I mean, that's good. Patrice is the only one that talks to him, and she tells him about the whole drama again between Lucy, Kendra, and Brett. And apparently things have somewhat smoothed over. She told me what I had already assumed. Kendra never really figured out what Lucy had done, and they were still best friends. Meanwhile, Brett and the goons had begun paying attention to 2 other girls on the cheerleading squad, and everyone figured Brett would be going out with Kelly soon. Word was that Kelly had done more than just a tongue with a kid in high school. Yikes. Okay. That's it. And I'm really mad that Kendra still doesn't know that Lucy was the one that caused all the drama. I don't know. I just don't know how they're still best friends, because even if that whole drama thing did not happen, Lucy just seems like a really mean girl. I don't know why Kendra, a super nice girl, is with a mean girl like Lucy. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Kendra, you deserve better, girl. And we also learned that Archie has not been at school all week. And so then we're finally on the big day, the day we've all been waiting for, the day that this book was leading up to. This whole book was leading up to this day. So Evan gets ready for the party, and he says, I had spent so long thinking about it, strategizing about it, and worrying about it, that it was hard to believe it was finally here. Sure, the church basement would be emptier than a pool party at Rachel's, but given that I looked like I'd been run over by a bus, that was just fine by me. 4 people or 40, I still become a man. Honestly, Evan did like a whole 180, like he suddenly is just so mature. But when they get there, Evan and his mom get a little surprise. Apparently Aunt Pam invited the whole family, like mom's side of the family and dad's side of the family. And Evan's like thrilled by this. He thinks this is awesome. His whole family's there. He's so glad his dad is there. Thankfully, Angela is not there. So then they go through their prayers and customs, and then Evan comes up and reads the Torah. And this is cool. I can't read this, but these are the lyrics that he sings. And then Evan's about to say his speech, and then Archie walks in the room. Well, he doesn't actually walk, sorry. His mom and Archie come in, and Archie's in a wheelchair, and he looks very sickly, very pale. And Patricia gets up and welcomes Archie in. I'm a bit shocked he's there though, because really, like, compared to the musical, because in the musical, I think Archie's a lot more mature compared to the book. And they make the whole friendship between, or I don't know if you would say friendship, but they make the whole friendship between Evan and Archie more believable, I guess you could say. Like, it seems like Evan and Archie want to be friends. Evan actually wants to hang out with Archie. I mean, they have this whole song called If That's What It Is, right after the whole fight between Evan and Brett. And Archie's the one that starts singing it. He's the first one that encourages Evan, helps Evan out with all that he's gone through. He's the one that kind of picks Evan back up when he's down. But in this book, Archie never does that. Archie is never there for Evan. He never encourages him. He never gives him advice. He's not really there for Evan. He doesn't have Evan's back. So Archie coming to this party is just not as believable as it would be in the musical. Anyways, so after Archie comes in, then Evan says his speech, and it's really, really good. I'm not gonna read the whole speech because it takes up like 2 pages. But basically this speech is the thing that ties in the whole story. What does it mean to be an adult? What does it mean to become a man? What does it mean to grow up and take responsibility for your actions? Last chapter. Okay, so this is only like 3 pages long, and it's a very different ending compared to the musical. Again, Evan is the main character and everything is shown in his perspective, whereas in the musical, even though Evan is the main character, we get to see multiple different perspectives in the story. We get to see Evan's, Patricia, Archie, Lucy. It makes the overall story feel much bigger than Evan. To me, it kind of reminds us all that not just you, but everybody in your grade is going to grow up. And everybody in your grade is going to make bad choices, good choices, anything in between. And the ending of the musical, at least for me, the musical gave me a very nostalgic feel. It made me feel very bittersweet. I got so many flashbacks of my childhood and middle school and that time of my life, being 12 or 13 years old. It even made me think about some of my friends that I had in middle school and wondering where they are today. It makes you think about that time. It gives you a very nostalgic, bittersweet feeling. However, in the book, I don't get that feeling at all. There's none of the kids like coming up and telling us about what they did in the future. I think it only goes so far into high school. And Evan is the only one that tells us about the future, what's going on after the events of his coming of age party. He talks about how Kendra and Lucy got into a fight when Kendra got the lead in the musical and they never spoke to each other again, and that Angela and his dad got married, and that he and Patricia kissed and got together. But what's really odd here is this last scene. But really, there's only one other story I want to tell. In the spring, there was a talent show. So then he talks about how Kendra did this whole big dance number, and it was successful. Everybody went nuts. And then Archie comes on stage. Archie sings his song, and everybody claps, everybody enjoys it. And then Kendra stared out into the audience. We hadn't said a word to each other since Brett beat me up, but I wondered if she remembered what she had promised me. Kendra walks over to Archie and takes his hand. Archie's shaken. He's, getting all flustered. And then Kendra kisses him. And there, in front of the whole room, the most popular and most beautiful girl in Appleton, Indiana, kissed Archie. And then the very last line is, "But no matter what he tells you, there was no tongue." That's how you're going to end your story? No, like really, is that how you're going to end your story? And the very last line has to involve tongue again? I'm so over this. And honestly, I think it kind of diminishes Kendra's character. Some people might read this and think like, oh, Kendra's so sweet. She gave him a kiss. Like, that's all he wanted in life. To me, after all Kendra went through, I think it would have been better for her character arc to just not date anybody, not kiss anybody. I think that's much more powerful. I also think that would be powerful for Archie as well. That somehow Archie realizes that he doesn't need a girl. He doesn't need to get kissed. He doesn't need to have that kind of validation from somebody that doesn't know he exists. I would have preferred if like she just walked over and gave him a hug or walked over and held his hand. If we just left it there and then added a whole like they held hands and smiled at the audience, done, or there's some sort of comedic moment that happens with that, or they hugged. Like, I just don't like that. And I think it takes away the entire point of the story. Based on my understanding with storytelling, your very last scene should end with a bang. It should tie in the whole story. And it did that at the end of chapter 17. So I kind of wish they just stopped it there. It's just not a very good conclusion to the book. I actually did it. I read it in 3 days, so I did really good. Again, it's been so long since I've picked up a physical book and read through the whole thing. Would I recommend it? I mean, if you're somebody that enjoys 13 the musical, then I say you would enjoy the book as well. And the reviews are correct. There's so much more detail in this book. There's a lot more scenes in here that are definitely not in the musical. However, there are a lot of things that are very different too. Like the main premise is very different. Like back here it says, but if you spend all your time pretending to be someone else, who do you become? Now, to me, that is very different from the musical. Well, one, Evan didn't want to move. He didn't really care about the school he went to. He already made friends with Patrice, so he didn't fully care about getting together with Brett and the other kids. He just wanted to invite them to come to his party. It wasn't until later on that he found out that he had to choose between the two groups. Either choose Patrice or choose Brett and the gang. And he does choose Brett over Patrice, but it wasn't because he wanted to fit in really. It was more of like, how many people can I get to my coming of age party? So it was never about Evan wanting to be a popular kid and wanting to fit in. That wasn't like the main thing, but in the book, that's like a big deal in the book. He tries to pretend that he's like Brett. He tries to pretend that he's like Eddie and Malcolm. He tries to pretend to be somebody he's not so he can fit in with this group so they can come to his party. There's a difference there. So theme-wise, it's very different. And please know, I don't think that's a bad thing. I actually think it's kind of fun to see a different perspective or side in this story. But if you're looking for a book that's similar in themes and story structure like the musical, I don't think you're gonna find that here. And honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, I can't really tell you who the target audience is for this book. I mean, on Amazon, it says this book is for grades 5th to 6th grade. But personally, if I had a kid, I wouldn't show them this book. I wouldn't let them read it. I would probably wait until they're like older than that. Just because of all of the sex jokes and the tongue stuff. And also, a lot of these characters are not very likable. And what's strange is that they're the same characters, but the musical makes them seem a lot more innocent. Like, honestly, I did not like Archie at all in the story. Brett is annoying as ever. Lucy is extra mean in this book. There are even times that I got mad at Evan and Patrice. So I don't know if preteens would like this story either, with all the drama and the bullying and the meanness and just the kids being in general unlikable. I definitely wouldn't give this book to somebody that's like under 10 years old. But I wouldn't really give it to somebody who's much older either, because I can tell you high schoolers will probably not like this book either, because they're past that age. So it's a bit strange. So would I recommend this story? I mean, if you enjoyed the musical, then yeah, go for it. But I don't think you're gonna like it as much as the musical. The musical, I think, is superior to the book. But I am glad I read it. I felt like I learned a lot about 13. And I'm soon going to react to 13, the movie musical. So I'm very excited about that. Thank you for following me along these last couple of days, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you read the book, let me know. Comment down below. Bye-bye.
No sense of direction. GPS that somehow lost